Hello and welcome to this video. So I have some very, very exciting news for you. I decided to interview people who are working in the field of spirituality and who I know personally and also their work. And where I find that their work is really, really amazing and so helpful. And I just want to share that with you. And yeah, I'm just gonna interview them every now and then. So whenever the opportunity comes up, and the first opportunity came up, and it's so amazing. I'm so excited. So the first guest I have is Colette Davie. And I interviewed her about like a half a year ago for the Endless Possibilities podcast. So that's when I got to know her better. And yeah, we somehow figured out that we work in a very similar way and we have a very similar understanding of the transmission that comes through us and all of that. So very exciting. And yeah, you will see that in the interview. And we also decided to do a joint transmission in the end for like 25 minutes. So enjoy the interview, enjoy the transmission. It was so lovely to talk to her. I really, really admire Colette. She's like, how she shares about her work. She's so pure and so precise, and she um, does such an amazing work. And yeah, I can really recommend checking her out. So I put her website and YouTube channel and Instagram into the video description. And yeah, let's delve right into it and yeah, enjoy. So you're coming from the non-dual teaching. So and now you're working with transmission. So how is the system being cleared when you come through the non-dual path? I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I actually really struggled with because basically, like I said before, I had this shift into no self or the Brahman consciousness, which is basically like this. It's hard to describe, but I can describe it by how it felt. It's like the person, including the sensations of the person and any individuation disappears. And then you can't individuate yourself from like the outside. And you also feel very distant from things, from negative energies or from the personal energies. Everything is just coming, everything's very bright and loving, and you've got this feeling of like, I love everything, but everything equally, and there's nothing special in a way. It's not dull, but it's like nothing stands out as like special. And another thing was that I didn't have this like human level of emotion, so I couldn't feel this. I couldn't feel like a romantic love, for example. I couldn't feel like, or jealousy. I couldn't feel anything that requires like a type of humanity.
Yeah.
So
It's
I was in the
exactly the
state
same
of
for
like,
me. Yeah.
yeah. So I was in this kind of state of like, almost like a robot in a way. Like I felt a bit like a very, very bright, expanded robot, which was like, and very free, of course, not cold, but there is a little bit of an element of cold because one can't feel the human emotion. Anyway, so that being said, it's like you're also separated from the shadows of the body. So it's like you're disconnected from the trauma or loud birds outside. You're disconnected from the trauma that's held in the system. But so that this is what happened to me. So like I separated out. The body was a very traumatized body, very heavy energy field, a lot of problems. Um, and then when I decided to come out of this and step back into the human level, this just really hit it because I hadn't cleared anything. So the shift, I realized, cleared some stuff. So that's like kind of how it is in non-duality. It's like whatever you get cleared is like, oh wow, that's great, you know. And some stuff it does clear. Some stuff, never occurred again. Yeah. So, but it's kind of just by grace what you get freed of. And then from there, it's like, well, everything else is perfect as it is. And it was like, but this doesn't feel right. Like there's something wrong here. And then there are all these rationalizations in the non-dual field, like, oh, but it's not always the end of suffering and there's no one to suffer. And like you should just bear with these low vibrational energies. It's just part of the human. It's not who you are. So that's kind of the conditioning that my mind had like kind of been, accustomed to throughout awakening. And whatever arises is just perfect. And that led me to like actually having no incentive to clear anything. But then I met my husband And what my husband was into at the time was shadow work. So it was like, thank God,
Cool.
some
Yeah.
method came up. But that is not the conventional non-dual approach. The conventional non-dual approach is very much like what I said, whatever gets cleared by grace is by grace, and then everything else is perfect. Sometimes you have an approach where if you have a dense energy in the non-dual kind of field, they'll advocate that you go into that and you see that there's no self there that's feeling a certain way, and you loosen the identification. But the thing is, I had already in a way seen through that. So it's like I knew there's no self, and so that paralyzed me even more. There was nothing for me to do with these dense energies, because why would I go into it and see there's no self? It's transparent. It's like I completely, anyway, met my husband and he got me into shadow work. And that's actually how the system began to clear. And then transmissions came in, and this is what's refining it now. Yeah.
Okay, that's so interesting. So it really is, when you had the Brahman shift, you got detached, and then when the human stuff came back, you had to face it again, right? So this basically happened to me in the unity shift. So I had to face and work through all the human stuff, or a lot of it in the unity shift. So this is just how it was shown to me. But and exactly what you said, when you realize, okay, I'm not, I like the suffering, so you don't identify, but the suffering is still happening, right? The low vibration energies are still there. Like, what you're gonna do with them, and it's just not a very enjoyable way of living. So you have the realization, okay, you are not that, you're not identified, and it's happening like in your system, but it's still happening. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And it's so bad because non-duality creates this like it's really difficult. And the way that the shift for me happened, it really locked me into a paralysis. It's like I'm happy and grateful that it unfolded, that it did the way it did ultimately, but it really like I wish that I had done some clearing before this big framework shift happened, because it's like as soon as I saw this, it's like what can I do now? Like anything I do is like there's no one doing it, and if I go into a sensation, there's no one there. It's all dislodged, it's all confused. My husband used to say, well, try bring love to the trauma, and I was like, I can't bring love. I don't know what love is. It feels like a sensation, and I was completely confused. So it's like and then eventually, like through the shadow work thing, somehow I don't even know how, but it's like I had to plunge even further into the human to do it. It's like whereas my idea of an ideal thing would have been like, oh, I bring the Brahman consciousness in, but there was no one to like do that. It was very like I was completely paralyzed, and so I had to dive further into the human, further into the mess, work through traumas, discuss, share, the very human way. And only now is it like, yeah, it's so crazy. And it's also interesting how like the paths like kind of differ. Like you had it with like the what I call oneness, or with unity consciousness, and I had it with the Brahman shift, or no self shift. Yeah. But ultimately grateful for how it panned out eventually.
Yeah, so it has to be done sometimes. I mean, some people they rather stay, let's say, in the Brahman, and then you're detached. You don't have to deal with all these things, right? It's kind of convenient, but you also detach from the human experience, and it's really nice to have a human experience from the Brahman perspective, and then also having a cleared system, because then the human experience just gets so much nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also the vibration is higher, and when I talk about vibration, it's not emotions, because there are no emotions in Brahman that raises your vibration. So you're not like, you do something and you experience the joy, and then you raise your vibration by that. But it's really like, because you clear the system and the transmission is coming in with the high vibration, it just rises you up. So it raises your vibration, and you're just in a high vibration, and then your life experience is just very different. So there is, the higher the vibration is, the more enjoyable it is, because there are less like obstacles, or less problems, or less just negative experiences. It feels like they are happening in this reality on Earth, but you're accepted, or you're like pulled out of that in a way. So you can't even have those experiences. It's not possible, because you're in a different vibration. So it's so fascinating.
Yeah, totally. Super interesting. Wait, there was something that I wanted to say, but now I forgot it. Damn. This always happens. ADHD brain.
But this is like, I know when somebody's talking,
Oh, I
the
remember.
information comes up. Yeah. Okay, you
Yes,
go.
yeah, I remember now. And this is why like the transmission is so useful, because I finally found something that I can just receive. And I don't need to like do anything, because the doing really, like, I don't know what it is about the doing, but since the shift, the doing collapses on itself. It's like I try to work on something from the space of intention, and it just eats itself. So it's like it just can't rise up. Like I wrote a post about it a while ago. Like nothing in my experience can come up and say like I need to be more clear, or like I need to become more enlightened, or it just, as soon as it falls away. And so the transmission is such a good way to like passively clear the system without having to do anything, which is like exactly what I needed, because I was so stuck in like this paralysis of like, as soon as I would try it, it would dissolve, and I would very quickly see that the intention is just sensation, things like that, which makes it super hard to do anything. So the transmission is super useful in that way.
And how do you experience the clearing through the transmission? Like, how is it happening for you?
Okay, so it's like on the human level, there are like very tangible, noticeable effects. Just like I mentioned before, just certain activities that are more associated with a higher vibration. So it's like, I don't want to go to certain places, I would rather go here. I don't want to eat certain things, I would rather eat this. I don't want to do this, I would rather do this. It's like it seems to reroute my decisions, just from the body perspective. From on the mental level, it's like certain negative thoughts can't penetrate. So a negative thought can arise and then it's gone. And it's like throughout this process, it almost feels like the sensation of it feels like energetically, it feels like maybe like certain like bubbling emptiness that's coursing through the body. Kind of, it's very hard to describe. An emptying out. It feels like an emptying out in the sensations. So where I would normally have like, for example, if somebody says something, and then I would normally have a hurtful response, or something related to the heart. Now what happens is there's like this bubbling. There's like a bubbling and a clearing, and I can feel it like almost like literally leaving in little like bubbles. And then the low vibrational response can't happen. So it's happening kind of like that. The sensations are very clear. The sensation of clearing, the bubbling, the transparency, the lightening. My body literally feels lighter. It literally feels lighter. And the decisions. So it's like I can just tell that, oh, this is what's happening. And also another interesting thing is like the decisions are effortless. Like I always really struggle to effort myself to a place because of this thing that I spoke about, like the collapsing of the effort and the doer. So I couldn't break out and, like, how people muster up motivation, like I really have to do this, I really have to, like that motivation of the separate one can be very strong, but it can also be very powerful. Like separation, or like believing that yourself can, or an individual person can really create a momentum, and you can actually succeed at things. But with this, it's like, yeah, so I don't know what I was saying, but the gist of it is that the transmissions help with exactly this. So it's just like this passive clearing all the time. Another thing is if I'm experiencing a kind of low vibrational energy, or even pain in the body, or anything that I can see as like it's standing out as something that's not necessary. Like we'll always have necessary types of emotions. Like if a loved one passes away, you're sad. Like that's completely normal and a human response. But if I detect something that's not, or like out of place, then if I just start transmission on that part of my body, it does the tingling thing and everything disappears. So that's like a
So
very
cool.
direct feedback.
Yeah.
So the transmission works passively on me, and I guess it has been since the shift. I just didn't know, but this is like a way to like directly do it. And if I just do it, it just gone. Everything just disappears, and then I can move on. So yeah, the system's becoming lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter.
So cool.
Yeah, I don't know what your experience, yeah, I don't know if it's similar with the clearing of the system and stuff.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's very similar. So also like with the thoughts, so starting with the thoughts, it's like there would be like a habitual thought coming up, a lower vibration one, and then there is like, I don't want to think that thought anymore. And
Yeah.
then you just make the decision. But it's very different from, let's say, self-realization, when you just have the awareness you are not your thoughts, because there is still like these energies are so strong and they're just taking you, like it's really hard not to think that thought, even though that you're aware. But then later on, of course, when the individual is gone, it's really, there is so much space where this is happening, the thought is happening in, that it's really effortless just to not think it again. And then it's just gone, you know, it never comes
Yeah.
back. And also,
Yeah,
what you
I
say,
agree.
you are in exactly what you actually also shared. You are in a situation and you feel, so everything is only happening in the present moment. And if I'm in a situation and I don't like it, I step out of it and I never go back into it again, but I can't know beforehand. So this is also something that's changed, and that's very interesting, because beforehand you kind of think about a situation and then, okay, does this feel right or wrong, like from the mind perspective? This is not possible anymore, because you don't get any feedback. There is no feedback in the body. So you have to be in the situation, and then you see, okay, does it resonate or not? And then you just know, okay, it doesn't, then you step out of it, and then basically this collapses forever. Like you can't really, you wouldn't go ever back into that situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of similar things. I just feel, I feel when the transmission is clearing something, that there is more space, there is more light coming in, my vibration rises. I just feel a lot better, and the human also feels a lot better. Like the human experience, like that's what I always say, it just gets more enjoyable, because it's more effortless. And it's just,
Yeah.
you go through your day and there are like, how it's manifesting in the consciousness is just, I mean, you know, when I say life gets a lot nicer, people don't really have an understanding, because, you know, what does it even mean? But it just gets more more enjoyable. That's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
definitely the
Yeah.
transmission works on areas where we couldn't go into, or we wouldn't know how to get this stuff out there. We just know when
Yeah.
it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you said about like you never go back into that situation again, I actually, that's so true. Like it's weird. It's kind of like what I mentioned before we started recording, where I said like my mind before had the tendency to repeat certain things, even if I knew it wasn't good for me, like having like drinking caffeine or whatever it may be. But with the energy coming in, it's like it makes it so easy just to never touch that thing again. It's like, and like what you mentioned with the thought, like, I don't want to think this thought, gone,
Yeah, gone.
and you don't get roped back in, and like the things don't repeat. It's like you learn very quickly. It's like learning just accelerates. You learn instantly. Yeah. And another thing that I wanted to actually mention, I don't know if you have this, so it's like a few years ago, this is actually how like the energy stuff started. Like we talk about resonance and how certain things resonate and certain things don't resonate. So after the shift, what started happening was throughout life, I could sense certain, like something that resonates and something that doesn't resonate. Like that's kind of how it started. But then I started to feel the energies in resonance. So it's like, for example, somebody might message me on Instagram and I can look at the message and I can feel where they're coming from. So I can feel their density, and I can feel if I respond, this conversation's not going to go well. They're looking for something else, or they're looking for from a non-pure intention, and then I won't answer that message. So it's like this also began to open as part of the energies, and I didn't really know at the time it was energies. I just felt, oh, this feels strange, and this DM from somebody feels not strange. And not saying like I ignore everyone with low vibrational energies like that. Sometimes I just don't manage to get to my messages. But yeah, it's a good example. And then I started to use this system to make decisions. Like certain people would ask me for podcasts or like for interviews, and it's like when I found the message, I can feel this, and there's something about it that's not right. And so I started to call that like contraction. It feels like a contraction. in the energy field. Something is dense. And so I would not follow that. And then I remember when I got the request from you for the interview, it didn't feel like that. And so I went into the message and I was like, okay, let's do it. And so this has actually become my primary guiding system. It's like, I don't know. And this actually happened like before the transmissions, but I know they're related. It's related to like being able to sense energetically where people are coming from and what situations are going to yield. So it's like sometimes I'll even feel like where I should go or shouldn't go. It's like if I imagine something, I can feel the contraction of the energy field, and I'm like, okay, we don't go there. We'd rather go here. Or even in like if I talk to friends or family, if they say a certain thing and they say, I'm really good, how are you? But I can feel in the message that they're not really good, even though what they say is that they are. So this was something that I wanted to ask if you have, because I speak to people and very few people actually know what I'm referring to. They understand resonance, like, oh, if you want to do it, if it feels good, but they don't understand contraction and like, oh, this is not good or something's off, or like expansion. Yeah, I just wanted to know. I was curious.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel it exactly in the same way. Okay. So basically, for example, when you have a conversation with somebody and you know that person comes from an ego perspective and the person wants to be right, and you just see there is no point of continuing this conversation because they just want to like get their energy out, like their low vibration energy, they want to reflect it towards you. And then it's like, okay, there is actually no point to continuing this conversation, for example, right? So it's something that you said. And it's just so fascinating because what happens in the system is before we talk and we go through and we think through the mind, right? So we weigh everything through the mind. Do we like it or do we don't like it? And it's always like we weigh it on from a past experience, right? And then this stops, and then we have the openness of the system, and then suddenly the communication and everything we do and experience comes from the system. And I always say it comes from our true nature. So the true nature has the information and it communicates with the human in a certain kind of way, and it happens through the system. And that's exactly what you said. So how it unfolds for you, it's very similar for me. So I just feel. And also when somebody's writing a message, just a question, for example, right? And I just feel what the answer needs to be, even though probably another person writes the same question, but the answer needs to be a different one. So not like totally content-wise, totally different, but just the person comes from a different place, even though the writing is the same. And I feel what the answer needs to be for that person in this moment. So everything happens through the energy field, and that's where the information comes in from the true nature. So this is how I see this. So this is when the true nature lives through the human experience or comes through the human experience. So this is how I see it. So it's exactly like you shared it. So cool. Yeah,
so interesting. Wow. I also have that where it's like, it depends on the person. I mean, depends on the energies of the person, what response I give, and just where they are. Yeah, so interesting. And it's also like sometimes another thing that's interesting is like my husband and I can be in a conversation, and then he can now also detect the presence of a low vibrational energy. And then we're like wondering if one of us is going to say something that's slightly contracting. And it doesn't have to be crazy. It can just be like, oh, I'm really worried about da da da, you know? And not to say we don't share worries and things, but it's like, it's so crazy that it can get so nuanced that even that can be detected. It's like you can literally pick up even the slightest things in a field. And it's like, diving into this has just been like the craziest thing. It's and it's also, it took such a leap of faith for me as well, like, because form may say one thing but the energy can say another. So somebody could say like, oh, I just want this, but actually they want to be right, like you mentioned, like they actually just want to, or unload some kind of egoic thing, but the way that they're speaking in the form realm is very polite and very fine. And it's like, it took me so long to begin to trust what I'm feeling as the primary guidance system. And now it's like, okay, now I'm at a point where I trust that as that's more paramount, let's say, than the form, than what people say or what a situation looks like on the surface. It's more about like how it feels. And I also see it the same way as you. See it as like a connection to a deeper intelligence. So basically, source connection that is like informing uh that. And it's so weird because if we follow that, it just also leads to a more miraculous life in a way, and a more positive life. um the more you kind of move away from the things that feel strange, or like there's just something slightly off, and it like the more faith you have in how you feel about something, and you just don't go that route, or how you feel about something and you do go that route. Yeah, I found that to be so important, and it's like a continual unfolding thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
that's
cool.
so cool because your experience is really like the same than my experience, and that's just
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the first time that I meet
Yeah.
someone with so many
Same.
parallels.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same.
very
And I'm
interesting.
honestly so excited about this because first of all, we can talk about it, know exactly what you mean. And it's just so cool that, I meet somebody, I mean you, and we
Yeah, yeah,
talk about the
likewise.
same, and it's amazing. So I love it. Yeah, really, really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think for the joint thing, I think we should just do something together. And I know, like, theoretically, it would be better if I, do my thing, and then, you do your thing. But I just feel like I feel like it would be nicer for me to just do something joint with you. And
Yeah,
I was also looking forward to the experience of the joint work. So that is also something
same.
that we can
Yeah.
only access through both of us doing it at the same time. So I
Yeah.
think that would be the
So
nicer thing.
yes, so I was actually curious about that too. How would the energy feel if we do a joint thing? And
Mm,
so I mean, we can do it in silence, or we could do it like we just start and you do like 15 minutes of talking and I do 15 minutes of talking. We could do it that way as well. I think
mm,
it's fine either way. I mean, since you started, or since you like to guide, you know, because maybe I see
yeah.
something different in your energy. Like with the joint one that I haven't before, and I can share it, and you do too. So I just thought it would be really cool that we also like share it. What do you
Oh
think?
yeah, that would be. Oh wow, yeah, yeah. It's like a part of me is like whoa, because I've never done.
I also have
I'm like,
never done
I
it.
don't know what to expect.
I also don't know what to
uh,
expect, but this is why I'm excited about it because I have no idea what to
yeah,
expect. Because with the transmission I work with, I always like I know it already, right? But
yeah, yeah,
here I
yeah,
don't know, so it's gonna be really fascinating. And when I
yeah.
share, I also have like my attention is just more there than just transmitting, because then I also just I fall into meditation, then I just meditate. I mean, I feel
Mm, mm,
things
mm,
happening, but when I'm like I have my attention on and then I look for things that I can share. It's just also the experience
mm,
is nicer for me too. And I think like, for
mm,
people as well, when they
mm,
um when they listen to it, because I always get the feedback that people really enjoy the guidance, because then they can put their attention on what I'm talking about as well, and then their experience is more intense as well, or they just experience
mm.
more of it because they know where to
Yeah.
look. Because if they just sit in silence, which is also very fine, um to like go into samadhi and stuff like that, that's totally awesome. But this is just a little bit of a different way than people can actually have an experience of things and experience it just more in a more profound way. So I don't know.
Mm.
Awesome.
Cool.
So awesome. I'm so
Cool.
excited. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'm
So
gonna
I
mute my
always
mic as well while you do clearing, and then I'll put it back on when I speak.
All right. And I always need like a minute in the beginning to tune in. So I basically always um, ground people, and I put like a bubble, energetic bubble around them so that they stay in their energy and, in this divine light, and I can work in there. So this is just what I do.
Mm.
And then I start talking. Okay, I'm just gonna have another sip of I drink cacao these days. No
Oh,
coffee
nice.
anymore. Mm. Okay. All right. Okay, so I start with opening up the energy field. Bring in light. Then I expand the energy field. So expanding the energy field helps to hold more light in the system, and also more awareness comes with that as well. So I'm expanding. And light is pure higher information. So the system then receives a lot more higher information than before, and can also hold a lot more of that information in the system. That's transforming the system on a cellular level towards your personal highest truth. So I'm expanding, expanding, expanding. And there is like a lot of light present today, a lot of light. So that's amazing. And then I fill up the expanded space with that light. Then I clear surface energies. So surface energies are just energies and emotions energies we've been exposed to over the past 1 or 2 days, and emotions that have been triggered up over the past 1 or 2 days, and that are basically floating around the top of our systems. And we just clear them because we don't need them right now. And it also helps the system to open up more and to relax more when they're out of the way. Okay, I'm clearing. And maybe you can experience when the surface energies are cleared that even more light can enter the system. Okay, and right now there is a lot of light sitting basically on the crown chakra and third eye chakra, and it just waits until those chakras are more opened up and cleared so that you can come in more. So open up the crown chakra even more. And the third eye chakra. Also throat and heart chakra. And then I just clear around the third eye chakra. I just clear energies around there. So I just see limiting beliefs are leaving the system. So just limiting beliefs that are limiting the access to who and what you are. So I'm just clearing those limiting beliefs. So thoughts are also just energy, and they can just act as blockages. So I'm clearing. So basically around that's not possible, or certain things are not possible for you. So there are thoughts that limit you because certain things are not possible for you. So that's what the thoughts are thinking. So I clear those thoughts. Because underneath, everything is possible. So I just clear those thoughts. And then thoughts around that things can work in a different way than you have imagined, than you were able to think about. So I clear those thoughts. And this creates just an openness that more light can enter the system, and also the higher information has all the possibilities in it, and then we can tap into those more when the blockages are gone. Okay. And then also I work on the heart chakra, because heart chakra is always the identification. This is where I see the identification. So I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's possible. Clear those energies. Then like insecurities. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this works. I'm not sure if this works. Whatever that is for you. So it's very individual for everybody. I'm not sure if that would work or if that works. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just clear those energies. And it's all about like higher possibilities. This is how I see this, like higher possibilities, possibilities that you haven't thought about, that you haven't even imagined, that they could come in, and the system is just limited. And because of that, it's not able to see these possibilities. So because these blockages are removed, or the ones that were there for us to remove now, a lot more light can flow in, and flows into all the chakras. So down to the root chakra, just a lot of light flowing in, it's flowing in. And the light has, so that energy that comes in right now contains the energy of like curiosity. So it gives your system curiosity, the energy of curiosity, that you can look for more, that you can look for more. But from your system point of view, so basically having the openness, okay, there are more possibilities out there. So this curiosity, okay, there is actually more out there. So that's coming in into every cell of your body, and just that information manifests in every cell of the body. And this curiosity also brings in a, let's say, a subtle excitement about looking for something new, looking for higher possibilities. And then the joy comes in as well. So there's joy coming in. Just the joy around that these possibilities are out there, and you can't see them because of the blockages, but beyond the blockages, we've removed them now. The openness is there. And this openness and the excitement brings automatically also in the joy. Okay, and with that joy being present, Colette, do you want to continue?
Okay. So while Eva was clearing, the transmission here has remained undifferentiated, meaning that it's just been the frequency of pure enlightenment or awakening. And I presume that this is just because it'll begin to tell me now what it's going to be for today. So normally my left hand will go up to receive the energy, and my right hand will begin transmitting. And it'll take me a few minutes to figure out what the energy is doing, but I will talk about it as I do that. Okay. So this is a very, very high vibrational energy. It's also largely undifferentiated right now, which means it's very close to the frequency of pure truth or very pure consciousness frequency. Like Eva said, there's a lot of light. There's a lot of light. I can see things falling away. They're like energetic strands. Certain, I guess one could say maybe a low vibrational energy strands falling away that almost can't stand the climate of the transmission that's happening. There's too much light. So unnecessary things are being shed. I can see an alignment through the chakra system. Something almost pulling up from the root to the crown. And along with this pull, it's removing everything that is not needed. The frequency itself feels almost like the frequency of limitlessness. Although I'm not sure if that's its final form. Right now, it feels like what's being transmitted is a form of limitlessness or possibility. Okay, hope comes in as well. Okay, there's also there's a certain, okay, an energy cap that's being removed. We have this like cap where we believe this is how good things can get, and it can only get this good, and that anything further is not possible for us. Essentially saying that miracles are not possible. So this transmission seems to be removing that cap or that limit. It's also lifting the energy body out of the low vibrational state. It's showing me almost that the light is carrying those who are watching. It's like lifting the energy body out. And from this lifted out place, you can see more. You can see more possibility. Limitation is just belief. It can just feel real if certain energies are dense. Sometimes we feel like there's no way out of a certain situation. And we kind of deny that a miracle could happen or that there are infinite possibilities. So this frequency right now feels very much like that. The frequency of infinite possibility or complete lack of limitation. This also means limitation from the body. So you are not limited to the body. It's freeing you from limitation from the mind and any energies that just don't serve you, I guess. Again, it's showing me an untethering. So We hold on to certain structures because they keep us safe. We tether ourselves to certain limitations because we believe that they're helping us in some way, but it's not true. A limitation, or the concept of limitation, is an old construct that is no longer needed in the newer states of consciousness. So the transmission is also gently allowing you to lift yourself out of the state that perpetuates limitation. This is also showing itself as miracle energy, or the frequency of miracles, the frequency of possibility. Certainty comes in, allowing you to be certain of these things. Certain that there are a million ways in which something could work out. And certain that miracles occur, even awareness of miracle in daily life, the miracle of life. Okay, so the transmission is now becoming more passive, meaning that the dialogue will probably stop and the energy will continue to be transmitted. So this body is also entering a type of trance state, which signals to me that I will give over to Eva now and continue transmitting this side.
Okay, so I'm continuing. So the energy right now is working very intensely on the third chakra and the heart chakra, really clearing. So especially third chakra, clearing a lot of low vibrational energies out of the third chakra. It's very intense, like very persistent. It really wants to clear those energies out. It's just low vibrational energies that are stored in our system, represented in the third chakra, and we don't need them anymore, right? So I'm also assisting. So I'm clearing these energies out of the third chakra. So I'm clearing shame, the energy of shame. I'm clearing the energy of shame. Basically, it's shame around not being able to see beyond the human limitations, which is, of course, not something that we probably experience really. It's just also stored in the system, but we don't even know that it's there because it's not an area where we usually go into and look for energies or information that we want to clear. So I'm just clearing it. So there's just shame. And it's interesting, there's shame around being this limited human. And this is what we don't want, because we're here to have this human experience and we have these limits, but we have the possibilities right now to clear these limits and to clear those blockages and just to reset our system and basically live from a different truth. It's like we're still on Earth, we're still having this human experience, but we are definitely not the same anymore. We like, I think the best way, I mean, I can't say we're different species, but it kind of feels like that. So we like a new possibility of humans. And we are so lucky because people who are listening to this or watching this, we can experience both. So first we experience the limited human and all that came with it. And then going through this transformation, coming out on the other side, being a totally new species of human. I guess that's the best way I can describe it right now. So that's what the energy shows me. We have these possibilities here through these transmissions. And the only thing that's needed is us saying, yes, we want to go through this transformation. Basically needs a yes. And that's all. And again, I clear more energies out of the third chakra because the ones I see down there are still holding us back a little bit. So I clear those energies. And again, it's just around shame of being this limited human, but there's other possibilities as well. I mean, it's totally fine, it's totally fine. I'm just clearing those energies. Okay. And what I see right now, what the energy is doing, it's forming this this new kind of this new species of human. This is what it's doing. It's forming that. And let's sit with this for the next few minutes until we then finish this transmission. Okay, so I'm closing down the session now, the meditation, and this will take about a minute, and then I'll let you know when we are finished. Okay. Oh my goodness. That was so good. That was so strong. And I loved what came through. Honestly, that was so cool.
Yeah, wow, it was so intense.
Yeah.
So intense. I've never felt something so strong. Wow. My like
Also, I also haven't.
this region was like just crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it also like it was so strong. It like left me like I don't normally enter into a trance state so easy, but it was like shoving me into a trance state. Also very persistent, like just
Yes,
get out
yes.
the way. It just let me do my thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I could really feel that the energy, like it had its intention for this transmission, and it was really persistent. Like I felt that too. So it was
Yeah.
really, really strong. And that's what I love about the transmission, that, they have an agenda and we can assist. And yeah, so that was absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It was so awesome. It was such a good experience. Wow.
Yeah.
Very
That was
cool.
really cool. Yeah, nice. And do you want to share where people can find you so that they can get in touch with
Oh.
you?
Oh yeah, okay. So just briefly about the transmission, because I didn't really talk about the transmission, I just transmitted. So the transmission that's being worked with is basically the frequency of enlightenment or Brahman consciousness or no self. It's a very high frequency. It was received by the system in 2021 when I had the shift into Brahman or no self consciousness. Although at the time I didn't really know what it was. And so now I'm transmitting this energy. Yeah, I do one-on-ones. I never know what a transmission is going to be like. So if you do a one-on-one with me, it's a complete surprise for both of us. Just like today's one, completely spontaneous, no planning. The energy that comes in will completely delegate where everything goes, and it will be highly personalized for your system. So yeah, that being said, you can find me on my website, which is thatbeyondduality.com. You can also find me on Instagram at thatbeyondduality. And I also have a new YouTube page with transmissions that I recently started. And that's at Transmissions Beyond Duality. And then also something new that we are starting, my husband and I. So I think every month on a Sunday. So it's a Sunday for people in the United States, but for Australia, where we are, and Europe, it'll be a Monday. We are doing a joint Reiki transmission silent group meditation. These are going to be held by donation. So whatever you want to contribute, whatever you feel called to, we appreciate that very much. And we'd love if you were to join. Our first one is going to be on Sunday, I think it's the 10th of November, a Monday, the 11th of November for us. Yeah, details are on my website. So that would be very cool. And then you get to experience the transmission that I just did along with Reiki. So it's a very good balance. You get the high vibrational source energy, and Reiki has a very healing, grounding, just fantastic kind of interplay between the two. So yeah, one-on-ones, I mentioned that, and the group Sunday meditation. Yeah. And my website now. So that's
sounds amazing, and the meditation, the joint meditation, sounds really amazing. So very cool.
Yeah, we're very excited. To see just how a group responds, and also how the transmission will respond along with Reiki to a group. So very excited. But thank you so much, and thank you so much for initiating this. It was so cool and worthy mention. I just also wanted to thank you, because I've said to you before, but you're actually like subconsciously the reason why I started doing transmissions, which I've spoken about to people in the past here and there, and I said like Eva's actually the reason, but I never like really explained it. So it was like I had the shift into no self-consciousness or Brahman consciousness, and I started getting these energy influxes, and I didn't know what to do with them. I tried to be, that's another thing I offer. I also offer spiritual teaching. Anyway, I tried to be a spiritual teacher, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't translating the frequency of truth, the frequency of enlightenment enough. It was like I was typing words, teaching people on Zoom via words, like how to awaken. And it felt like the awakening energy is being distorted until it's very small and coming out in words. So then somehow, by grace, I met Eva. And when she said she does energy transmissions, I was like, oh, that's cool. Anyway, I didn't think anything of it at the time. And then a couple months after that, the energy that I had been receiving since the shift built up so much, because I kept trying to translate it in non-dual teaching or enlightened teaching verbally, that it wasn't getting the resolve. It wasn't getting the release that the energy needed. So it got like frustrating in the energy field. It was so built up. And then something in me remembered this woman that I met that did transmissions. And I just put on my camera and I put up my hands, and the energy started flooding out. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so relieved. Because I said to my husband, like the days before, I don't know how much longer I can handle it. I don't know how much longer I can handle this energy. And I don't know how to, I would type poems, I type these long things, and I just couldn't get it out until I discovered this. So thank you so much. Thank you.
So cool. So cool. Amazing that was of inspiration, and you're doing fantastic work, and it was so much fun to I was a great experience to see how you work, and I really enjoyed it. And we should definitely do this again sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
And
thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you, and also everybody who's listening, thank you so much for joining and for joining us in this amazing experience. And and please check out Colette. She's doing amazing work, and I really admire her. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
bye.